Greetings fellow Guitar-Lelians, Jeff Weinberger coming at you here with a new tutorial. Today I'd like to talk about a thing that we call descending and ascending bass lines. And it can add a lot of interest to your guitar playing, it can add a lot of interest to your songwriting, or it can help you learn a lot of classic songs that use this technique of ascending and descending bass lines. So obviously ascending meaning going up, descending meaning going down. And normally when we play, we think in terms of we're playing chords. We don't think about, oh, we're playing bass lines, but you actually do sometimes play bass lines on the guitar within your chords. And some of the more interesting rock tunes and folk that have been written have some of these little bass lines in them. There are millions of examples, but I'm going to try to keep this short, so I'm only going to go over some of the highlights, but the list is a long one. So the thing that I was playing was just sort of my own improvisation, kind of hacking away at that tune, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You by Led Zeppelin. But I wasn't actually playing, the real guitar part. Number one, there's probably copyright issues involved. And number two, I don't actually remember how to play it exactly. So I was doing just from memory, just my little version of it. I know it wasn't exactly right and that I improvised a little. So that's an interesting one because it has an A minor chord. Then it has this chord that you could call A minor 7 over G. You could call it C over G. There's a lot of different names for it, but let me do a little explaining. First of all, let's look at the chord itself. It looks like this. It's 3 on your E string. It's X on your A string. It's 2 on your D string. It's 0 on your G string. It's 1 on your B string. And then finally it's 0 on your E string. It normally would have been a C chord, but we changed its bass note from C to G. So it has your third finger up on the 3rd fret of the 6th string, that G bass note. So I want to explain a little something about that. And that simply is that these are called slash chords. When you see a chord on a song sheet or on the internet in tabs, wherever you might see this, it might say something like C/G. And a lot of people get confused by that, what exactly that means. Here's what it doesn't mean. It doesn't mean to play a C chord at the same time as a G chord. I might have thought that when I was first learning guitar at 12 years old, but I eventually learned that that's not what it means. What it actually means is it's a C chord, but it has an alternate bass note. It doesn't have C being the lowest note of the chord. It has G being the lowest note of the chord. A note that normally isn't the lowest note of the chord. You put that below the chord and it makes it a C chord with a G bass note, C/G. So that is the second chord in Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. And then that song and many other songs that are in the key of A minor like this on the guitar go to this chord. This can be called all kinds of things, but if you want to get really proper about it, it's a D9 over F sharp. And some of you saying, whoa, that sounds really hard, that's complicated, D9 over F sharp. I don't even know if I can say that, never mind play it, but it's actually not that hard. It's only this. It's 2X0210. Not a hard chord, but a very cool chord. It's just kind of a variation of a D7, basically. D9/F sharp. And then F, big old bar chord F, or you can do the Mississippi John Hurt F, I call this one. Where you don't bar, you cheat, you use your thumb, you wrap your thumb around. The Mississippi John Hurt F, which is really cool, and I like to use it all the time, is thumb plays on 1 of your low E string, but then you have X on your A string, and then you have 3, 2, 1, 0 after that. The Mississippi John Hurt one. that's a really handy chord for these kind of chord progressions. Babe, I'm going to leave you being no exception. And then finally an E chord, which I'm sure everybody knows that plays guitar. 0, 2, 2, 1, 0, 0, E. So that gives you this. Descending bass line, you can hear it. It's as if a bass player were going. Now, what other songs use that exact same bass line in that exact same key of A minor? 25 or 6/4. By Chicago. Dead Leaves on the Dirty Ground by the White Stripes, that uses that same thing. And one of the most popular tunes these days, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, George Harrison's great song from the White Album. That uses, in the Beatles by the way, that's the group that played it, but George Harrison wrote it. That uses that same chord progression. Look at you all, see the still my guitar gently. One of the reasons that song is famous is Jake Shimabukuro doing an incredible instrumental version of it on the ukulele, and also when Tom Petty and George Harrison's son Danny and Jeff Lynne and all those guys got together and jammed on it, they had Prince do a special guest appearance, and Prince did that incredible guitar solo, one of his greatest performances, and then he threw the guitar up in the air and it disappeared, and wow, that's like a viral video that probably has like millions of views at this point. So While My Guitar Gently Weeps is a pretty popular tune using descending bass lines. Let me rattle off a few others that you probably know. I'm sure you have all heard Mr. Bojangles. Met a man, Bojangles, and he danced a lick. That from the 70s, Jerry Jeff Walker. Great song, descending bass lines. Of course, Bob Dylan had a bunch of them, Blowing in the Wind. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. There's classic descending bass line action in that tune. We have Landslide, Fleetwood Mac, everyone knows that one. That's based on a descending bass line. Usually it's capoed, I think at the 2nd fret, but without putting on a capo, it would be a C chord, a G/B chord, which I'll explain to you in a minute, A minor 7, and then back to G/B. So that you can hear a bass line going. And that really adds movement to the chords. You can have moving lines in the chords in other voices, in some of the higher sounding voices of the chord, but these are decidedly bass line, bass motion things. An example of chords using other voices would be like if you did, say, baby, hold on to me, whatever will be, will be. That Eddie Money song, Baby Hold On to Me, that's an example of other voices of the chord, higher voices moving. But in this case, we're talking about the lowest voice, the bass voice. Alright, other songs that use this technique, Don't Think Twice, It's Alright by Bob Dylan, one of his greatest finger-picking tunes. Wonderwall, that song, I think that was Oasis. Correct me if I'm wrong, it might have been Bush, but I think it was Oasis doing Wonderwall. And then we have Penny Lane by the Beatles, that has a great Paul McCartney bass line in it. Sunny Afternoon by the Kinks, that's a pretty famous little descending bass line. We have Tears in Heaven by Eric Clapton, that has descending bass lines. Piano Man, everyone knows Piano Man by Billy Joel. that right off the bat, and its chord progression has great descending bass lines. Some of these bass lines, by the way, would be ascending too, like Landslide. It descends, and then it goes back and ascends, so it's kind of ascending and descending. What else? What other tunes do I have for you here? We have Friend of the Devil by the Grateful Dead. That's a great little descending bass line. Dunga 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 dung 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 dunga dung dunga dunga dung. Something like. So the way it goes. It's as if you were playing bass on the guitar along with your regular guitar playing. So it gives it a really full sound. It sounds like two people at the same time. Not to take work away from bass players, we need bass players too. But you can provide your own bass line if you're a solo guitar player and you do like restaurant gigs and that sort of thing where it's just you playing and singing by yourself as a solo act. These can really make your sound rich. If you're a songwriter, these are extremely important to know how to do. It's a really great songwriting technique to find chord progressions that lend themselves to this. Alright, the last example I'll give you, even though I said there were lots and lots of examples, would be Stairway to Heaven. Everyone knows that song, and that has a very classic descending bass line in it that Led Zeppelin has had some trouble in chord over, apparently. They might not have been the first ones to come up with that, but it goes... So the descending bass line in that goes. So you can hear it just go down, you know, it's almost like it's climbing down some stairs or something. It's descending a staircase. Just drops down one note at a time. It almost sounds like it's falling. And that's a really strong pull. It really makes the song move along. It provides this nice forward momentum and motion that's way more interesting than just sitting on. And imagine if Stairway to Heaven was like, there's a lady who's sure... When she, you know, that's just like boring. That wouldn't have any motion to it at all. But there's a lady who's sure when she gets, you know, with the word she can get. That's perfect. That's why that's such a classic song all around the world. For decades, that's been a #1, one of the most popular rock songs ever, and one of the most common songs for us to learn on rock guitar. Is because of that great descending bass line, those beautiful chords. So anyway, get to Lalians. I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial on descending bass lines. I will provide a link down below with a list of lots and lots of these, and I will try to also provide links to YouTube videos so you can go and listen to these songs yourself and find out what descending bass lines sound like. Okay, get to Lalians. You take care. Bye-bye.